YouTube, thank you for coming back again. This is, I believe, part 3 on our $10,000 LS swap. So remember, before we found out that our cam bearings are wiped out. So now we have to put cam bearings in it. And since we're gonna put cam bearings in it, I decided we're gonna pull the pistons and rods out and the crank out, replace the rod bearings, the main bearings, the piston rings, and completely clean the block. So the first thing we have to do is number our connecting rods so that when we pull them out, we can know exactly where they came from and then place them back in the same location. So we're gonna use our punch, which is over here. So let me grab number 1. So this is number 1. So this is cylinder 1 on this side right here. This is cylinder 1. And this is cylinder 1 right here. So we will number this connecting rod will be 1. This one's on the opposite side, so this will be 2. This one's on the odd side, so this will be 3. This will be 4. This will be this one will be 5. This one will be 6, and then back here you'll have 7 and 8. So let me do that, and I'm gonna check right back. So we have all our rods numbered. So you just look right there. Let me try to get you in a little bit closer. You can see like that one is numbered 1. It really appears to be number 11 because I was trying to make the mark a little bit darker for you. But that one's 3. That one shows up pretty well. I think you see this one that good down here is 5. So I'll show them again to you after we get it out. But so because we're gonna reuse these rods in the form that they are in, with the exception of taking a measurement and putting new rod bearings in them, I'm gonna reuse the bolts. So there is a torque spec I could use. I think it's around like 55 foot-pounds. But what I wanna do is use my Snap-on digital torque wrench and put it in the off setting, and then it will record how much torque it takes to get the bolt loose. And that is what we're gonna re-torque them to. So we'll probably take like a measurement off every rod and then re-torque that rod to that specification so it's right back where it was. So let me make sure you guys can see. Let me see, can we, let's try this bolt here maybe. This one will get you. So let's just do it and let's see. I'll let you see the wrench after it takes it loose. So our highest reading to get that bolt loose, the one bolt, is 52.9. So let's take the other bolt loose. And this is rod number 3. So we got 52.9 on that one on number 3. Let's take number 1 and let's see. So our highest reading there was 54.0. So 54.4. So I'm gonna write these down and record it, and then we'll go ahead and get the rest of them off and keep it moving. Okay, so all of our rod bolts are now loose. These are the highest torque ratings for each bolt. I think the highest we had was like a 56.2 on number 3. So we're just gonna torque these back down to 55 foot-pounds. So we're gonna get them. So now we're gonna take all of the connecting rod piston assemblies out of the engine, sit them over in the parts washer, clean those up, then get the crank out, and then we will finish taking out like all these little core plug, all of these plugs, like this one and that one, and finish getting the rest of these sensors off and wash the block down and then get it clean so we can get our clearances for our new bearings and our, so then we can set up our new bearings. and figure out what our clearances are. So that's what we're gonna do now. So I just thought about this when I was pulling the rod caps off. You guys are probably gonna wanna see what the rod bearings look like because I know I'm interested in what they look like. So let us do that right now. I took one of them off and I set it back down because I thought that you guys would like to see. So let's do this. This is number 8. The bearing stayed in there. But the bearing actually looks very, very good. Let's see. Let me get this thing. Okay, you see there's no major grooves or anything in this one. This one looks very, very good. So let's continue taking the rest of them off, and we'll do this. This is the other side of the bearing. That looks good. This bearing looks really good. Let me wipe it off here. So the wear on these things is very, very normal. There's nothing majorly wrong. So we're gonna keep trucking here. Bearing looks good too. This one's got a little line in it. It's not enough to grab a fingernail or anything, it looks like. But I think it was probably just some trash in there. So that's why it's a good thing that we're tearing this thing down. It probably would have lived fine. We could have just slapped some cam bearings in it and been happy. But we're in it now. So we're gonna get it all cleaned up, get rod and main bearings put in it, and keep it moving. This one looks good too. So with the exception of these cam bearings, the engine was very healthy. And that's kind of what I thought. No, excuse me, not kind of what I thought. That is what I thought, because it had, the engine had good oil pressure. And it didn't make any noises. So, these rings are really carboned up, I do believe. That's why it's so hard to get these things out of here. Remember, your rods go, your bearings and things go back together tang to tang. So there's this tang right there, and then you got that tang right here on the bearing, and both of those go back on the same side. So that's how you can know. This one looks very good. You could probably really get away with reusing these things. But we got a fairly decent budget here, so we're not gonna try to chance that. And we are running a power adder on this thing, so we're gonna try to make it live for as long as we can. So this would be 1 and 3. That bearing looks good too. So a free engine that just took work of getting it out and selling off some parts. It's not a bad deal. Remember, we started out, we bought a wrecked Escalade. We sold the parts off, so we bought a wrecked Escalade for $2,500, and then we sold a lot of the parts off of the Escalade. There were still some good, and the shell of the Escalade with the title, and we easily made our $2,500 back. So we're out of no money right now, with the exception of some cleaning supplies, some time, and our AFR heads. This one's got another little line in it. I think that's just from trash being in the engine. So this is our last one. This should be number 2. That one looks good as well. So we got all of our side bolts out for the main caps, and all of our main cap bolts are loose. We also have our rear cover. Our rear cover, which sits back here, that is off. So now it's time to pull the mains off. And this is always a little bit difficult for me on an LS. I'm gonna let you see how the main bearings look. Okay, let's take a look at one. Man, this looks good. Okay, let's see what you guys can see on the camera. That thing looks pretty good there. We got some trash that was in there. That's where those little lines are. Let's let this focus up. I hope it'll focus. So, come on, focus. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, well, these little lines are just trash that was in the engine. So, that's one of the reasons why we took this thing apart. The reason why we took it apart is because we put cam bearings in it. And since we had to put cam bearings in it, we just decided to go ahead and replace all the bearings and clean the block real well. So that is what we got there. That bearing looks good too. That bearing is fine. It's just got trash in there. So this will definitely be a good engine. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pause and finish getting this out and get this thing finished, broke down, and get these plugs out, like this plug right here. These things are all loose. I already put my crank sensor out on the other side. So I'm gonna just finish tearing this thing down, and I guess I'll bring you back in once I roll it back. Okay, so I just wanted to bring you guys back in. This is our thrust bearing. And this looks really good too. So we are in really good shape. So our block is completely torn down. We just knocked out our cam bearings. The tools still laying in there. Well, we got one more oil galley plug to pull out right there. We got our coolant plugs. So there's one coolant plug here. There's another coolant plug there. Then you have, of course, your port right here where you would pre-lube your LS. You have this port back here that blocks off your dumbbell, as a lot of people call it. So the dumbbell's got to come out, and I got to knock out this other plug right here. Then the block will be ready to wash. But the thing that started this off, because remember we were just gonna cam swap it, and I was saving the blower and the aftermarket heads as a surprise. But when we tore it down to the short block and got our cam cover off, we seen how our cam bearings look. Now this is bad. Although our rod and main bearings looked really, really good, and they could probably actually be reused, but we're not going to. But this is bad. This was a VVT motor, not a DOD motor, but this is bad. This is cam bearing 1. Let me show you how a new one looks. Let me get a clean set of hands. So this is what a new one looks like. This is what they look like new. You see there's no wear on that thing. There's a little bit of dust just from being in the box. But this is what they look like new. And that is what they should look like. Not looking like this. That was 1, that was 2, that was 3. This one's 4. And this is 5. So these cam bearings were completely wiped out. So I had to put cam bearings in it. I didn't have to tear the whole block down to put cam bearings in it. I could have just put the cam bearings in it, and I probably should have just checked the bearings, seen how they looked, but we're in it now. But the bearings did have some little evidence of lines, saying that like there was trash in the motor. Well, this one doesn't, but a couple of them did, and I'm sure you saw that earlier. So I'm glad that I could tear it down and then get everything nice and cleaned up, so we'll have a nice, solid, clean foundation to start from. And then we can paint this thing up nice and get it going. So thank you guys very much for sticking in this long. So this is going to be the end of this part of the video. When we check back in with another part for this LS build, we will have our cam bearings installed, block cleaned, possibly our short block together, and be going ready to assemble the motor, install the cam, get the heads on, and keep on trucking, and hopefully get this thing dropped into the car. So I hope that will be our next installment. So thank you very much for rocking with us. Remember, this is White One Auto. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you got any questions, you can reach us here at the shop, 313-264-1689. Right now it is May of 22 while we're filming this video. So we're pretty much booked. We don't have any openings until July of 22. So if you want to get on the schedule, you can give us a call. And we got a lot of other great projects coming up. We got this thing to finish up. We got an XLR in here just for some maintenance, and the top didn't work. And hopefully we can see some of my 96 Impala too. So thank you. White One Auto